Welcome to the 1457 podcast from Scotland, where golf began. A digital platform where we try to inspire golfers near and far to come and play golf in Scotland. You will find all you need to know through our great photography, short films and stories, and of course our podcasts. You'll find it all on the website, scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, and on social you'll find us at Where Golf Began, Facebook, at Scotland Where Golf Began. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you very much for joining us. A wee update from the last podcast about Mr. Rattery, that man of long ago who played golf down at Leith Links. He was actually captured twice and freed twice by Duncan Forbes, the Chief Solicitor General Advocate. First taken in reminisce and release, and then down to the Tower of London and release. However, he didn't get his foursomes partner back, as I said. He, in fact, never played golf with them again. So having got him released, he said, "No more golf for you, sunshine." But Mr. Rattery had won 2 silver clubs pre-Culloden and then 1 afterwards. And the first recorded game of golf was actually between Alexander Elphiston and John Porteous in Leith in 1724. So that's the wee update for the last one. And introducing you to our panel of golf nuts, Fife's finest, Dave Kerr. How are you this morning, Dave?
Very well, Malcolm. Always, as always. It's glorious.
And Roscoe Flanagan. Roscoe's got all his bits and bobs and his buttons in place and his internet's travelling in the right direction now. So all good with you, Roscoe?
Yes, thank you, Malcolm. And thanks for clarifying that about Mr. Rattray. I thought you misquoted when we did the podcast, and I wasn't going to correct you on the podcast last week, but thanks for clearing that up.
Well, as far as not being corrected on podcast today, I think that might be slightly different because we have 2 fantastic guys in Gavin and Scott Hastings on the podcast. Though I know Gavin and Scott Hastings well, you don't sometimes forget just what the icons of rugby they are. I mean, they are 2 of the best known people in Scottish rugby and probably worldwide rugby, full stop. However, there's a cost for me for getting Gavin on because he doesn't like my beard very much. And why don't you like my beard, Gav?
It's ugly. It's unkempt. You look like an old man, Malcolm. I'm just looking after you for your viewers and whatever else. Anyway, I'm going to look forward to taking the garden shears to your beard in a few days' time, when you reliably inform me that if I don't chop your head off, a lot of the money is going to go to charity. So that would be very, very good. Anyway, I thought this was a golf podcast. Why are you talking about our rugby careers when you could talk about our distinguished golfing careers?
Well, it's not for me to talk about you. It's for you to talk about that. So how and where and why and how did you get into golf? Not just you, Gavin, both of you. Scott, you're allowed to speak as well. I know Gavin's speaking a bit, but Scott, can you just jump in again?
Scott, yeah, Mark. Do you want to introduce Scott first?
Yeah, Gavin, you introduce your brother, because you're going to lead the podcast anyway. So, Gavin, you introduce Scott.
My brother, Scott Hastings, is my younger brother. We're 2 of 4 boys growing up in a sports-mad family. My mother was a very keen, avid, successful golfer. My father was probably the most naturally talented golfer, but far too polite a gentleman to, succeed on the rugby field, I think it's fair to say. But he certainly succeeded on the golf courses of Edinburgh and East Lothian and beyond. So we've been brought up with our parents being very keen, and we used to have the most competitive 3-ball sixums when we were all growing up, and it was great fun. And my dad didn't like the competitive nature of mum and dad playing with their 4 sons, but the boys all enjoyed it, and it was always good crack. And the winners would probably get a Mars bar or a Twix or something like that. And let's face it, Scott, I've always been a much better golfer than you anyway. So, although Scott is getting very competitive and is becoming a very good golfer as well.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. And Malcolm, it's great. Both Gavin and I do golf down at East Lothian, Gavin at Muirfield, at the Honourable Company of Edinburgh Golfers, at Gullen. I'm also at Lough Ness, which the Gullen members love calling Gullen 4, but it's an old championship qualifying course when the Open was held at Muirfield. It's a magnificent links course, great atmosphere, great clubhouse. Thoroughly enjoy the kind of camaraderie and fun down there. But looking back to sort of childhood memories, and I think the Gullum members might have a wee chuckle at this, because Dad used to throw us in his old Volvo, all four of us and the dog, and go down after 6 o'clock on a Sunday night when the greenkeeper and starter had gone for his tea. So we used to nip onto the course, Gullum number 3, for free. We were given one golf ball each, and literally we were told, don't lose it because we're not going to give you another one. But we had some of the great laughs down there. And as kids, you know what, you just stand up there, whack the ball. And it's always been a love of ours across the family that we would just continue and play for fun. And as we continue to do this day.
And this is the 1457 podcast, and that comes about because the wee ball and the big ball were banned. But am I hearing correctly, your mother was a bit like James II when it came to banning things to do with sport at the dinner table?
Come on, Ducky, you need to, like, I can't, you're not losing.
Come on, Gavin. Listen, we were always talking about rugby. Rugby was through and through. So she banned rugby. So we would quickly move on to golf, and she was sick of golf. She banned golf, and then we move on to football, because the household was split between Hearts and Hibs. That's Edinburgh City rival teams, and that would end up in a bit of a fight. So it would then go back to golf again, and then go back to rugby, and it would just, and then supper time was it just became an absolute melee of disagreement, frustration, fun, laughter. And I've always said some of the best times we ever had as a family were around that dinner table, and it was just great fun. But yeah, mum tried to rule the roost. Dad would sit in the background and just try and calm us all down. But can you imagine what it was like? 4 boys who'd been knocking crap out of each other for the whole weekend, and we'd try and settle down to some good manners around the dinner table. But no, generally speaking, as Gavin said, we always talk sport. If there was a football cup final on, we'd be playing cup final. If the cricket was on, we'd be out there practicing cricket in the back garden. If the tennis was on in Wimbledon, it was just so happened that I think the 2 sports that were actually at the top were certainly golf and rugby. And we've had so much enjoyment from both those sports throughout our lives.
I have to say, though, I mean, hitting golf balls out of the back garden in our family house into streets 150 yards away, goodness knows what damage we cause. And I honestly, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I think, oh my goodness, did we actually do that? But we did do that. So I think we're talking 55 years ago. So hopefully the legal system in Scotland means that we can't be prosecuted for that. Where are you going, Scott? I'm going to sit still. You never sit still, do you?
There we go.
Always moving.
Yeah, it's one day we'll have to actually put these podcasts out on video as well. So we were just having, before, Scott's getting a hard time for moving around. Gavin wasn't on the screen because he was having his porridge. So what did we all have for breakfast this morning? Scott, you describe your porridge this morning. How it fortified you?
Yeah, I soaked my oats overnight, and then I had a little bit of milk and water. I've got turmeric, I've got ginger, I had salt, pepper, honey, bananas, frozen fruit, a little bit of milk, munch it all up, and that gets me going. And that'll last me around 18 rolls round Lough Ness very nicely. Thank you, sir.
So that's you get a bit of preparation, the prior preparation and planning prevents poor performance. Going into that. And Gavin, what did you have this morning? What did you? I'm sure you must have beaten your brother on that. You would
poured it into my bowl. I put milk in, and then I added blueberries and banana, and it was just perfect. Thank you very much. It seemed a lot easier than the way Scott makes his porridge, to be perfectly honest. Probably tastes just the same, I would suggest. And
Dave,
what did you prefer?
What do you have, Dave?
This morning, I actually had a poached egg on a bagel with some rocket. How about that?
Is that
very continental?
Very posh rocket.
Is that because you?
Yes.
Is that because you're just back from the States?
And yeah, I had no fruit and vegetables for about 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm trying to eat a bit more protein and a bit more fruit and vegetables.
So you're just back from Orlando. So very, very quickly, how was Orlando, the golf show? Have you boys ever been to that?
No.
Golf show in Orlando?
No.
Do they sell razors in Orlando? I mean, look at you 2 bearded warriors. I mean,
I need to get the Just for Men out.
I actually think, a golf manufacturer should go into producing some razors. Oh, you unkempt people.
And
Let's go back to Orlando, though. Just tell me a little bit about that, because obviously, golf, the amount of Americans are coming over to Scotland, it's staggering. And they are, we've got some brilliant courses, and I've got a bunch of friends, and we always talk about going maybe overseas, but there's some hidden gems in Scotland. So we keep touring around some of the great golf courses, going up north and playing the likes of sort of, Elgin and Brora and Murray. And it just, they're just fantastic, fantastic courses. And the Americans seem to really love the fact that Scotland offers such a diverse range of golfing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the history is one of the big thing that draws the Americans here as well. Malcolm obviously touched on the beginnings of the game, and I think that's one of the things that certainly draws people here. It's just a bucket list, isn't it? I think for a lot of Americans, they might want to tick the big boxes of the open venues, but just the ability to even just come and play golf in Scotland, almost regardless of what course they play, is a bucket list item in itself. Just to come to the home of golf and play on our hallowed links, basically. So, but yeah, Orlando was nice. It started cool. I spent a few days in Louisiana. Played some golf courses up there. I had to buy a woolly hat because it was so bloody cold. I think had a big storm come through. So I played the Country Club of Louisiana and a place called Metairie, which is just outside New Orleans. I think they're kind of number 1 and 2 in the state, I think. And then down to Orlando, weather got warmer. Went down to a place called Bel Air, which is the oldest golf club in Florida, 1897. Hard to believe, but there you go. Donald Ross design. Amazing place, really beautiful, on the shore, clear water, looking out on the bay. We played late afternoon, so the sun was setting as well. It was just stunning. And then the show itself, which is basically 40,000 PGA professionals from across the US get together and see the latest equipment and manufacturers. Clothing seems to become taken over now as well. There's unbelievable amounts of clothing lines on offer there. And then everyone retreats to the bar of the evening and then crawls out of bed whenever they can in the morning, basically.
That's a tough itinerary.
It's like a rugby tour style, doesn't it?
So, what are your favourite courses around Scotland? Wee courses people wouldn't know of. Scotty, then come back to Gav.
I went up and played Old Murray, but Boat of Garten was. We used to go on holiday, Malcolm, up in the Aviemore, Cairngorms region, and Mum and Dad used to hire a house or hire a lodge or something, and we used to get given these passes that played at Nether Bridge in Grantown on Spey, and it was just fantastic. But Boat of Garten, just outside Aviemore, it's a bit of an iconic course, and it's just lovely to play these most scenic courses, well manicured, looked after. And I just have fond memories of playing golf up there and going up to Kingusie. And last year I played Pitlochry. What a magnificent wee course. Great fun, full of brilliant views. I thought we were going to meet the Von Trapp family on the way up. There were so many blooming hills up there. But, once you're up on the sort of plateau, it was magnificent. And they've put so much effort into the course. Was magnificent, and all these little gems just bring you a lot of joy because it's as we talked about earlier, there's this sort of appeal to go and play the championship and open courses, and they are magnificent. And Gavin and I get spoilt by playing in charity golf days at Loch Lomond and Turnberry, and then Trude, and they are magnificent. But sometimes when you play a little course, as I said, like Pitlochry, it's magnificent because they're such entertaining, interesting homes, drama, viewpoints, and it's just good fun to sort of experience sort of what I would call rustic golf.
Well, your golf is rustic. That's the bounce spot for it.
That's true. I do spray the ball a bit, but I do get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Well, there you go.
Well, I have to concur with Scott. I mean, obviously, childhood memories from going up to Grantown and Spey and staying near Nether Bridge and playing these courses. I mean, I challenge anyone to play Boative Garten on a beautiful day and not consider that to be an amazing test of golf and just serene beauty up in the Highlands. And yeah, so I think the wonderful thing about golf is that you know it's not only the course, it's who you play with and the day that you're playing, and even, dare I say it, getting the odd birdie and whatever else, and just remembering a particular hole or a particular shot that you might have done. But primarily it's the people that you play with and the memories you have. I mean, I must have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views from that I've taken on my phone from playing golf, wherever I go and play golf. And I could probably fill a couple of albums, with hundreds and hundreds of photographs. And it's just the beauty that you have and the calmness and the serenity and whatever else. I'm trying to match Scott with his big words here because I've never heard Scott use 4 or 5 syllable words before, which is quite incredible.
Gav, you might remember we were walking up with the dog to the Braid Hills. Now, the Braid Hills are over Edinburgh, guys, and we were admiring the municipal course or the council course, and the greens were absolutely fantastic. Some of the views across Edinburgh and the city were just absolutely magnificent. And again, that was a course that we were brought up as kids. You jump in the bus, you go up, and there used to be Braids 1 and 2. Well, it was always number 2 we used to play. I think it had something like 6 par 3s on the trot. But we used to drill the balls over the housing estate out the back and see you could spread, hit a certain house. We were rascals on that course. But you're right, and talk about views. I don't think you can get a better view than at the top of Gullen Hill, and also at Lough Ness when you're standing on the 8th tee. It's magnificent, especially on a winter's day as well, when you got that blue sky, you got this Pentland Hills in the background. That is one of the Gav. That has to be one of the best views. Even Muirfield, for a links course, some of the elevations you get and views across the city and across Cullen Bay, it is magnificent. And what also brings a lot of joy to us is when you take people up there, they're just in awe of the setting. And we all look at iconic courses such as Pebble Beach in West Coast California, but I must say, you stick Gullen up there, there's nothing better.
It's one of the best views in golf.
Yeah.
Of course, that's in Scotland's Golf Coast, isn't it? And that'd be East Lothian.
You came up with that idea, calling it Scotland's Golf Course, Malcolm.
It was a bunch of us.
Someone who'd never been to Fife, maybe had never been up the North Coast as well. Never been along the Murray Coast.
There's a wee bit of a running battle between Mr. Kerr and Mr. Duck about. Well, he keeps talking about the home of golf being in St Andrews, where it all started East Lothian, as we all know. But then, Gav, have you got split loyalties? Are you a member up in St Andrews as well?
Well, I am, but there's no split loyalties there. I mean,
good boy.
It's the thing about St Andrews is it is the mecca for golfers, isn't it? And it's just the drive for me, the drive over the Forth Bridge and over into Fife. And then, I mean, I don't know how many times I've driven into St Andrews. You come along from Carbridge there, and you see the spires of the old town of St Andrews, the borough, and it's just magic. And the old adrenaline starts flowing. I mean, honestly, there's no place. I don't think there's any place quite like it. Quite like the drive to St Andrews and the anticipation. I mean, I can only imagine, for all the Americans coming over, and if they have the knowledge that they're going to play the old course, my goodness me, you don't have many better feelings, I wouldn't have thought, than driving into St Andrews with anticipation of driving off at the first in front of that historic clubhouse. It's magic, isn't it? And that's the beauty of golf that I've always said, that we can, you can tread in the footsteps of the most famous golfers that have ever played on the planet. As rugby players, an ordinary rugby player cannot necessarily go and play the iconic stadium stadiums of World Rugby at Murrayfield, Twickenham, Cardiff. Scott and I have been lucky enough to do that. But what we can all enjoy as golfers is playing the same courses as the best players on the planet. And I think that is the best thing about golf. It really is that nothing is beyond the capabilities. If you either know people or you're lucky enough to be introduced to people and you behave yourself and you know how to behave yourself, then there's a possibility you can be invited into the great clubhouses and play on the great golf courses of the world. And I think I've done quite well in that regard over the years.
And I think it's terrific that, as we were talking about before we started recording, that Gavin, you were going to take Scott to Augusta the next time you head over as well. I mean, that's what an experience that'll be for Scott, right? What an experience.
No. There is one thing that is not going to happen.
Oh, come on, Vic, you've told me that before. You still owe me a Christmas
I've
present.
told you, if you get down to single figures, there might be a consideration. But I mean, you've got to keep practicing. Honestly, I mean that shank of yours that you do every third shot is really not what's required.
So do you know why some of this Scott's getting a hard time from Gavin? Because Scott's actually got 2 more caps than Gavin. And it should only have been 1. But Gavin very kindly decided to come off the pitch to let Cammy Glasgow on because Cammy hadn't been got a cap. But Scott, being sneaky Scott, had a wee word with Jim Telfer. Instead of Cammy coming on, I think Scott came on, did he not? So was that the cap that went
That
past?
sounds like an embellished story, Malcolm, but
That's the one that he told me.
Malcolm, it is very close to the truth, but really has nothing to do with the podcast.
So, I mean, I think one of the things that all these kind of podcasts and social media stuff done has exposed some of the lesser known golf courses, which is great. Because when you look at Dornoch and what's happening up there with Neil Hampton, I mean, that's when's the last time you boys went up there? Because they've got the new clubhouse, they've got a new par 3 course coming on, Surrey's being redone, and a whole new course being built up there.
Yeah, I've the championship course. I played the small, was it the Burnside? I can't remember the name. Struy. We used to go and play the Struy because we'd had a caravan holiday one year. But no, I've not played Dornoch. And of course, it's almost impossible to get on now, but it's just become this amazing gem. But there's 20 courses like that, Malcolm, but no, I've not played it. Gavin has them.
Well, if it's there, you play them. But no, I mean, Dornoch is a special place. And as Scott mentioned, we did have a couple of summers and staying in the caravan park there. And it was great fun. And, you imagine 4 boys and mum and dad in one caravan. Could you imagine the smell emanating from that place? I mean, it'd just be revolting. I'm surprised mum and dad I'm sure they probably didn't even stay in the caravan. We just probably thought that they did, but they snuck out and went somewhere else and came back in the morning, cooked breakfast and whatever else. But anyway, we had great holidays, and I just have the fondest. I think Dornoch itself is a magnificent. It's brilliant. You feel alive up there, and you go for a swim in the sea either before or afterwards. It's just magic. We were up there for a few days during lockdown, and or it can't have been in lockdown, otherwise we'd have been arrested, but maybe shortly after that. But it was just magical. It was pretty quiet and just fantastic. I got up every morning, walked the length of the golf course with my dog literally at 6:30 in the morning, just as the sun was rising. And you wouldn't wish to be in any other place in Scotland almost at that time of the day. It's just breathtakingly beautiful.
There's something about the light on that golf course, I think, particularly the mornings and that kind of afternoon magic, and it's just unbelievable. And the beach down there is it's just a great place to spend time.
Yeah, it's terrific.
And you played much on the West Coast, boys?
Yeah, a few times down in Prestwick, down there, Troon, Turnberry, Dundonald. Nice setup at Dundonald with the new pods down there and everything. So yeah, it's going well, and there's some great experiences down there. But it's a bit of a mecca, and of course, you go further down to the Turnberry course, owned by some American. I've not played it since it's been done up, but oh my goodness, again, iconic venues, and I think that's where Scotland stands out. There's such a choice of courses, and magnificent backdrops, and Prestwick is just great fun to play. It's just a quirky course, isn't it? That demands the best of you.
Have you always played Prestwick St Nick's?
No.
I would have played a long time ago, Malcolm, as a teenager, but haven't played it for a long time.
Great little course. Tremendous 18th coming back in. So it's one of all your little courses round about, as you say. And Ayrshire, I was talking to Robert the other day, and Ayrshire is, I don't know if you'd agree with Dave, is possibly one of the better value areas in Scotland right now when it taking in accommodation and golf, with hotel prices pushing up and golf courses pushing up.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's of course it is wet, so I call it the wet coast. Living on the Scotland.
You've always been a comedian, Malcolm, though, haven't you? I mean, you're one of the funniest people that I've ever met in my life. I mean, just I laugh at every turn you are, Malcolm.
It's very kind, Gavin. That's very kind. Yeah, I knew I was going to get a wee bit ever on this course, but it's good. But you've done a lot of charity golf as well. I mean, you boys say Scott, you were saying you're lucky enough to be invited in to play, but you also spend a lot of time, give up a lot of your time to go and take part in the charity golf stuff. So it's a two-way street. I remember you talking about after speaking, Scotty, and people just expecting you to turn up, a bit like me phoning you can come on the podcast, and thanks again for doing it. But after speaking or playing around the golf, it's good fun, but it's a day away. It's away from the family and all the rest.
Yeah.
What are your favorite courses, and what are the charity things you've been working on?
I think there's a great event every year for the Variety Club at Loch Lomond, and Gavin was talking about sort of driving, into St Andrews, and Loch Lomond gives a similar sort of feel. You come out of Glasgow, up to Ballach, and then you drive down the driveway and swoop round to that magnificent setting of their clubhouse. It's just magnificent. The course is magnificent. I think it's a tremendous experience. In fact, I was lucky enough one day where I'd sold a package to a dinner fundraiser, and the member wasn't coming up trumps. And I got a call from the secretary at Loch Lomond to say, okay, we've granted you permission. You can host and put the bill onto one of the members who'd actually kindly donated the prize. So the sting in the tail was we got a helicopter from Edinburgh over to Loch Lomond, and we flew around Rostu House as we landed in front of the clubhouse. Had a magnificent time. We drank the best wine. The caddies got a magnificent tip, and played magnificent golf up on the helicopter again. Tour of Rostu House, swooped round the golf course again, back to Edinburgh, and stuck it on my friend Martin Kreski's bill, which was very generous of him. So if Martin ever listens to this podcast, you're an absolute star, Martin, and thanks for all your support. But yeah, I think Loch Lomond's a great one. I've been down at Turnberry playing golf down there, and then there's all the smaller courses all the charities are supported. You can't do everyone, but you try and help, as and when. And even recently, a friend of ours, Iwan Tukalo, who was raising money for people in Ukraine. He has family over there. We supported him at Brunsfield Golf Club, and what a great setup it was. And when courses open up their courses, or clubs open up their courses to charitable giving, it's a way of giving back. And I think Gavin and I have always felt a strong responsibility in some respects to give something back. The sport of rugby has given us so much. So the fact that we can give back and help raise funds for charity, I think is part and parcel of who we stand for and what we can do in life. Just a wee bit of thank you, goes a long way.
What about you, Gav?
Well, yeah, it's like Scott says, I mean, it's always good. I think the great thing about charity golf days is that, there's almost a smallish number of people, maybe 20 teams of 4, obviously 80 people. And then, it's a pretty small day, but you have a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. And it's important to understand, who you're helping. So yeah, as Scott says, it's good to do that. I think you just want to hope that everyone has a great day and raise lots of money for charity. So that's what it's all about. I'm looking forward to shaving that beard off, though, Malcolm, for charity. That'll be good. We'll do that for charity.
I remember playing with Gav a couple of times in the Australian Wine Bureau Golf Day with Roger Davis. And up at what was the
that a
Duke's
charity day? I was so drunk, I don't remember.
I think it was a day of golf. Yes, money did go to charity. I think Roger Davis might have been the charity, but it was the Duke's course, and Roger's hitting off with everyone on the 10th with us, and Gav's just suddenly, from about hole 6, he's just opening his shoulders on the drive, and I hadn't kind of worked it out, and then we got on the tee at the 10th, and Gav walks up on the tee, and you can just see him feeling a wee bit taller and whatever, and he whacks this fantastic drive, and it sails and lands, and I've seen Roger Davis hit an awful lot of golf balls, and Roger walks up, just out the corner of his eyes, look at Gavin, walks up, the wiggle's a bit firmer, the swing back and the bang, and Roger's ball's still going up where Gavin ball's landed. Could no words, a little wink, and said, "Back in your box, boy, this is my sport." Wonderful competition between those were great fun days.
I do remember, Malcolm, and that, or one of the Australian wine golf days, and we decided to be the loudest golf team on the course, and so every putt that was holed, we were cheering and hollering and everything else, and we wanted everyone else playing the course to know that we were having the best time. And miraculously, we ended up winning the tournament, or the golf day. And we got these beautiful, beautiful glasses and big goblets and the fine china. But they were very thin. And I remember in the minibus on the way home that we all started drinking out of those. Well, I think we got 6 each by the time we got back to Edinburgh in the minibus. I think we were able to take home 4 each, And oh my goodness, it was a party, and we all started at your gaff, I remember, about 7:30 in the morning, so
Yeah.
going up to Starnews. So, all glass champagne. It helped do well that day.
Isn't it funny? We've all got a story. I remember playing the Duke's course, playing a Texas Scramble, and my 3 partners on the opening hole, we absolutely nailed our drives back up to the clubhouse on stroke index 1. And my 3 partners then proceeded to either top, slice, or shank the next 3 shots. So I stood up there and said, "So boys, I suppose it's a 6 iron to 6 inches." Absolutely nailed it to exactly that, 6 inches. We hold the putt with a stroke, and like Gavin, you just giggle all the way around, and just little stories like that, and a great format of golf, the Texas Scramble, of course.
Oh, it is. I think in that thing we play, Gav also said, if we miss a putt, make sure you make a big noise to make sure they think we've held a putt. Well, like psychology going on that. Great fun. So you guys have also, you've done your charity days, played with lots of mates and friends. So who are the kind of famous golfers you've played with?
Come on, Gav, you go first. You've got the big name.
Oh, I played with a couple of champions over the years and whatever. I remember I was lucky enough to play my first big proper golfers was in the old Pro Celebrity series that I think was shown on BBC One, and I played with Sam Torrance, and Sam was just an absolute joy to play with, and made you feel very much at home and at ease and whatever else, and he was terrific. So you just once you get over those and be able to, lucky enough to be invited to play in a few pro-arms over the years and play with Ernie and play with I managed a wee round with Tiger over in China on one occasion, which was very interesting, and I've never been so long in a golf course in my life, because all these Chinese, this was probably 20 years ago, and there was they just went crazy all over the golf course, these Chinese people, and they didn't know how to stay behind, didn't understand staying behind the ropes and all that stuff. But wow, you realize that he was on another planet as far as, just, I remember walking off the 18th green and being so keen to have a beer with my two playing partners, and Tiger eventually finished all his duties about 2 hours later, and you just saw another side of that you probably didn't really think about all that much. And how often has he done that for 50 years, 40 years, and just living in that, in that, everyone thinks that, you can have a bit of him. It's very tough. But, great golfers. Bernard Liner, I used to play with in the Benson Hedges Pro-Am. What a nice man. Played with him on many, many occasions. And he just a real gentleman. And, the Big Easy, amazing man. So, yeah, very lucky to have played with a few people. Scott, over to you.
Yeah, a few times. Again, we used to get invites to play in the Scottish Pro-Am, and the Colin Montgomery was one. To be absolutely honest, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I was actually shitting myself, because I'm not as good a golfer as my brother, but oh my goodness, he was great, and thoroughly enjoyed his company, and being in the company of Sam Torrance as well, and great fun. Gary Player, got to meet him a few times. Great fun. Just played the odd hole with him, not the full 18. But there used to be a little event that used to go on in Malcolm. You remember this, the Tartan Tour. There was a lovely guy called Colin Brooks who was a professional player who he was brilliant with me, and I loved his company. And actually, occasionally, still go up and get lessons from him up at the Braid Hills here in Edinburgh. And
Colin's been going there more often, Scott.
Well, actually, I think I should just do more putting. I think putting is my. The Lough Ness greens are, as they always say, Malcolm, they're the best greens in East Lothian. Maybe not over the last couple of years, but they're coming back. And Lough Ness is quite interesting. If you get your round going, it's amazing what confidence. It's all down to putting, isn't it? At the end of the day,
It's a great. I mean, it's a great golf course, and it's one of my favorite clubhouses. It really is. It's just spectacular.
Well,
I'm talking about
get you down now. You want, don't I? So we'll have to get you down.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But I remember the Braids has been there for so long. It's done such a great job. But I mean, I think I went up there to hit some balls, and I couldn't hit any balls because I was just sitting laughing, and it was your dad trying to give your mum a golf lesson, and it was just. I was about 2 days down. I just could have taught you why married couples maybe shouldn't try to teach each other. Yeah. Absolute scream.
Do you know, Gavin and I, when we were playing a lot of rugby, we used to go up and train not only at St Andrews, but also at Gleneagles. But when we get an afternoon off, we used to get out, and I used to love playing the Queen's Course up there, the King's Course, Gleneagles. Oh, it's great. It's still it's majestic, and it's funny how, as the conversation is unfolded on the podcast, suddenly little stories pop up in your thoughts and days of some magnificent time up there. I used to work for an advertising agency here in Edinburgh, and one of my friends, he was drilling down into the accounts and found out that the London office had a corporate membership, but nobody used it. So we used to nip up every Sunday and play golf at Gleneagles for free. It was brilliant. And suddenly we got rumbled about a year later, and they reduced the membership to directors only. So it was a bit frustrating, but great fun. I actually once golfed with Sir Steve Redgrave in an event up there, and multiple gold winner rower, and it was just an absolute joy to walk around 18 holes with him, just chatting about his Olympic success, and great fun. So yeah, the fact is that as sportsmen, Gavin and I have met some incredible people over the years, and the sport of golf does bring people together.
So rugby guys you've played with, I mean, you've been on tour quite a lot. A lot of guys play rugby. So who are the fun guys who played rugby at the internationals when you've met? Because I mean, you're playing for Scotland, playing for England, Ireland, Wales is great, but you guys have both played Lions, and you keep hearing people talking about the Lions and how that brings all the opponents together, and it's a very special kind of bond that you guys have between all the different countries. So who are the key guys you'd like to play golf with again from your rugby days?
Yeah, I think you get a chance, obviously, and well after your rugby career that you play. And George Gregan is a guy that's great Australian scrum half, and he's very competitive in the golf course, hits the ball absolute miles. But I suppose I've, managed to just get the better of him on the odd occasion with play. Brian O'Driscoll is also like that. Just these people are so competitive, and it's funny. It doesn't matter how old you are, and I think when you're as old as I am, and I've played a lot of golf in my life, that you can almost just, when the pressure's on and you're actually wanting to try and hit a ball into the middle of the fairway or hit a ball onto the green or need to make a putt, if you're really, really desperate, you just resort to, your sort of inner self, if you like, and you're able to sometimes do that, which is quite rewarding, actually. And, particularly when you are talking about playing against very, very competitive people. So, it's always good. You can always give yourself a little pat on the back when you've managed to produce a shot or hole a putt, when you've needed to do that, because, it's character building, and it gives you a good degree of confidence as well. Is that something you've ever done, Malcolm? Just being able to do that just when the heat is up?
I know, I just buckle under pressure, Gav. It's a very, very well-known Roman trait. Absolutely. You see the enemy coming, you just run away. Read it through whole history of the Roman.
I'm sorry, Malcolm. I feel like I've given you a bit of a hard time there. I think if we can edit that bit out, that would be...
No, you cannot. It's all about... But the thing about golf is, I mean, what other game, by the time of the second hole comes along, can you be given somebody stick that you've never met in your life before? I don't think there's another game like it. Yeah. The whole point of friendship and golf and these things is the banter and the chat. We played I come like 18 months ago, I can't remember, with Merv at Gullen, and I think we hit two kind of okay drives, Gavin. You said our glory years are behind us, Ducky. But it's still, we're getting a bit older, so you can't hit it as far, but it's still the crack, it's still competitive. It's really about the people you're playing with a lot nowadays, is it not?
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, 100%. I mean, and you're on the golf course for 3.5 to 4 hours, and hopefully no longer than that. And goodness me, I can't think of anything worse than going round a course without having, as you've called it, banter, and it's good fun. It's what you kind of, the sports that we've played, and the sport of rugby and golf, I think it relies on that sort of good-natured banter, and you need it. I think, and you need a bit of pressure, and you say, "Come on, you need to hold this putt." And when you hold it, you feel blooming good about it, and that's what it comes down to. And experience counts for a lot as well. I think you can't replicate that experience. You just have to build it up and put yourself in a situation. The more often you put yourself in a situation, the more likely you are to be able to hit a drive down the middle when you really need to, when you're playing foursomes, or if you need to hold that putt or put a long putt very close and make sure it's a gimme. It's rewarding when you do that, and you feel good inside,
Gav, is it the 7th at the top of Gullen Hill?
It is, Scott.
So I was playing with Gav once, and we're going. We're sitting there. The wind was horrendous. 350 yards downhill, par 4. So it was one wood, split the fairway, and then I nailed another one wood straight off the deck to about 12 foot. I think I missed my putt, but it just gives you so much enjoyment. And the fact is, you talked about the camaraderie, and I was at an event once, and I auctioned off a prize to golf down at Loch Ness. And I said, "Oh, there'll be another VIP celebrity that will be playing, a rugby celebrity that will play alongside me." And somebody shouted from the back of the room, "Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?" Well, in the room that day was a guy called Michael Lina, who Gavin and I played against for Scotland and the British and Irish Lions, an iconic player for Australia. And Michael puts his hands up and says, I'll join Scott. And you know what? A few months later, he jumped on a flight, came up, took him down to Lough Ness. And that's the quality of a man like that, who was able to give up another day just to, contribute to that prize. And he loved Lough Ness, and I love taking people down there. And that's the beauty of the sport, that you can have that fantastic opportunity, but also the handicapping system allows you to be that competitive person, allows you to get a net birdie and win a hole. It allows you to make a putt, and it allows you to come up. It's 18 chances to get it right.
So, Gav, you kicked for Scotland. You're a very successful kicker. Do you think golf, hitting that individual shot, because rugby's a team game, but when it comes to kicking a goal or kicking a penalty, that's very individual. It's you and the kicking the ball. Do you think your golf helped you in those moments?
Never really thought about it in that way, Malcolm. It's an interesting question, but perhaps yes. And I think, particularly when it's windy. Well, when's it not windy in Scotland? So whether you're on the golf course or on the rugby field, you would have to adjust for the wind. And clearly a rugby ball being a heck of a lot bigger than a golf ball would be more affected by the wind. So that's probably the most interesting question that you've asked in this podcast. So yeah, congratulations on that after 55 minutes of asking questions. Well done.
Fiona just whispered it in my ear.
I knew there was a reason for that sensible question, Malcolm.
I've got a question that follows on from that. So, and it's a little bit more of a rugby than a golf question, but it leads on because I've been fascinated with goal kicking and elite sport and golf. And Scott, you mentioned being on a tee, shitting yourself in front of a dozen or so people, but you run out onto some of the biggest cauldrons in the world and have to perform with 40,000 people breathing down your neck. Speaking of cauldrons, what has been the iconic stadiums and that you've played around, and some of that feeling that those stadiums have engendered?
Really, I always talk about atmosphere. When you can touch atmosphere, that becomes very, very special. Murrayfield undoubtedly is a stadium that Gavin and I, love to pieces. And, that's the Calcutta Cup coming up, the rivalry between Scotland and England. It's a fantastic stadium when it's noisy, when Scotland are on the best. It never leaves you. But some of the great stadiums that we played in were the Cardiff Arms Park. Now, it's now the Principality Stadium, and that is an unbelievable theatre. Down at Twickenham, it's a colossus of a stadium. But I go back to our playing days. The Parc des Princes was just unbelievable in Paris. The Parc des Princes the atmosphere was incredible. But also, Gavin and I had played in a winning British Lions series out in Sydney at the old Sydney Football Stadium. And, it was special in Ballymore and Eden Park. So there was, again, I love that kind of old history of stadiums, but I also appreciate that stadiums have moved on. And, when you go down to Principality, incredible stadiums and atmosphere, but, it pales into insignificance when somebody on a golf hole waves you through and you've got to nail your drive up the middle. Again, I find that more intimidating. And yet, once I'm there, that competitiveness, I think, gets you focused, gets you through. And actually, once you're up and running, it's fine. But it's that amazing feeling of fear and also excitement. And I think ultimately that excitement takes over as you learn to live in that environment. And Gavin talked about Tiger. These golfers that play professional golf, unbelievable how they just time and time again are able to deal with that pressure. It's extraordinary.
Just another question before Malcolm doesn't let us ask any other questions and jumps back in. Talking about travel and stadium, but I was lucky enough in Australia in my golf business to help some professional sportsmen with golf clubs. And some of those guys were the Wallabies, the Melbourne-based Wallabies. And usually I found with the sports people that went on tours, first thing that they packed were the golf clubs. They were going on a tour. They'd come in, they get the new travel bag, the new golf clubs. In the 90s, when you were touring Lions, Scotland, what was the golfing scene like when you were touring around the world, and what were some of your favourite destinations for golf in relation to that touring?
It's an interesting question. I'm interested to hear how modern day players are almost packing their stuff. I mean, back then we were lucky to perhaps get an afternoon off and we'd go and find a golf course in the middle of New Zealand somewhere or whatever. And yeah, we didn't really have an awful lot of opportunity to play. It was interesting. And also you might have a sore leg or a sore shoulder and it would prevent you from playing. Probably the guys are a lot fitter now, so they'll recover quicker from the games. But yeah, I mean, I never really thought when you go on a rugby tour, like, oh, I'm desperate to play this golf course or whatever else. And I'm sorry to maybe put a dampener on that question. I wish I'd say, oh, I've played all the, super golf courses in Royal Melbourne and whatnot. Well, I have played Royal Melbourne, but not on the rugby tour, and yeah, I guess I always sort of golf was on the back burner a bit during the rugby tour, and there were probably more important things to try and achieve at that time.
What do you?
Yeah, it was a matter of, if you did play golf, you'd go down, you'd be given a hire set, and off you go. But I think one of my favourites was in 2011. We were down at the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand.
Wow.
I was working down there. Gavin was there. Our elder brother Graham, based in Melbourne, came across to New Zealand, and we had a week off. Or I had a week off, and we went golfing, and it was absolutely fantastic. We played Royal Wellington, Cape Kidnappers, which was magnificent. Gavin, you remember that? We just spent it all day there. It was just magnificent. And then we went up and we played Kinloch, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then you went off to play, I think, Titirangi or something like that. Some of us had to go off and do some work. And that was great fun because the Hastings boys were on tour and caught up. And I think latterly, the fact is that now when we travel, we've got a great opportunity to play some fantastic courses. And, I was out in the States last year and played Torrey Pines. It was just magnificent to sort of experience golf in America. I was down in New Zealand and Australia, down in the Mornington Peninsula. Our brother Graham is a member of the Metropolitan Club in Melbourne. And these are just fantastic courses. And Tara Iti, I went to Tara Iti in New Zealand. Oh my goodness, the only way of getting there was by helicopter. So, you kind of get spoiled a wee bit when your friends say, oh, let's go for a wee game of golf, and you jump in their helicopter and get treated to some magnificent. And I know those are the experiences. And again, it just boils down to these are friendships that opened up during our rugby, and we keep in touch with people, and it's magic to share those opportunities.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that shitting yourself. Rich Beam says that embarrassment is one of the biggest killers in golf, and fear of embarrassment is the biggest killer. He was playing on the seniors tour, and he was on the tee, and Jack Nicklaus came across, and he was shitting himself. So, yeah, I think it goes.
You would.
Yeah,
I think the question everyone wants to know, Gavin, is when Tiger asked for your autograph, what did you sign for it?
Well, he was. I have to say, he was very good, and I've played enough golf, and you realize that the opportunity that you maybe every third or fourth hole you'll maybe walk down the fairway with him and just ask him a couple of questions and whatever else. But he was very gracious. He was very kind. He did a little video or a DVD that I still have somewhere, and I've still got 2 or 3 photographs that I've had with him, and yeah, I mean, let's face it, he's the most famous golfer on the planet, and in our lifetimes, and to be able to say that you've had a round of golf with him in a pro-am event is pretty cool. So, for a humble little Scotsman like myself, a shy, retiring person, ducky like myself, to be able to play with the most famous golfer of our time, yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. And an amateur golfer is that, an amateur sportsman. I mean, Scott and I will always say that rugby has afforded us so many opportunities and opened so many doors for us. And golf is a sport that can be enjoyed by, sports men and women of, all ages and from anywhere in the world. And we've enjoyed the opportunities that our sport has given us, and golf is just that sort of enabler to bring people together, and it's wonderful. And when we've got fantastic golf courses in Scotland that we can host friends and friends of friends on, it's a privilege as well, because what goes around comes around, and you host people and you get hosted. And I think that's the nicest thing about golf. I really believe that there's no one really takes a mickey. We just accept that we're in a place of good fortune or whatever, and then you reciprocate when it's your time to do so. And it just keeps going. And that's our. By the way, Malcolm, you only 4 games of golf, just in case you were counting.
When your knee's better, we'll get you down to Kilspindy.
I want to play Kilspindy.
Any more questions, boys? We could go on for ages because chat's brilliant, but we've
got another
What do about another call to go into?
So a massive thanks to Gavin Scott for giving us the company and sharing their stories. It's been a huge privilege, and a personal thanks to both of you for all the support you've given me through my business and personal life and friendship you've shown over the years. These 2 guys are just fantastic examples of great sportsmen, and their positivity just shines. Whenever life's got difficult, they've stepped up to the mark, and you'll always leave a chat or a phone call with Gavin Scott with a smile on your face. Thanks again, gents. You'll find lots of great info on our website, scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, on our blogs, films, and of course the 1457 podcast. You can subscribe to our newsletters, and you can come and join the 1457 Society and play golf with like-minded folk. And you'll find us on social, Where Golf Began, and Facebook at Scotland Where Golf Began. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for listening. Swing easy, somewhere over the rainbow.